The HyperX Cloud II Wireless is perfectly average. It sports an average price tag, average overall listening experience, arguably a below average microphone, and even a relatively average build quality and comfort. Everything about this can be described as fine, but is that enough to actually, well, make it worth buying? Let's take a look. The Cloud II Wireless isn't exactly new. In fact, it came out around a year ago now, but HyperX are currently pushing a wave of reviews and actually offering payment to reviewers to speed up the production process or secure the spot on the schedule. Yeah, that's something I'm going to be talking about in a separate video in hopefully the not too distant future, but since I now have my hands on one and did not accept payment to do so, let's take a look at it. Upon first inspection, it feels like a relatively premium bit of kit. You have metal, aluminium essentially, as the headband and all the way around and the attachment point between the headband and the ear cups, and even on the back of the ear cups as well. You've also got relatively nice quality plastics elsewhere and faux leather on the headband and on the ear cups. I actually have an original Cloud headset, which I can attest to both the overall build quality, it's still holding up just fine, with the catch that the headband material, especially the part that rests on your head, that faux leather will deteriorate and crumble in good time. Luckily, like I said, the overall build quality feels solid enough that I can't imagine these would break of their own volition, so they should at least last until, well, the headband gives way. Of course, the big thing with, well, an audio device is what the audio quality is like. And it's kind of, at least for this headset, it's kind of the most average part. It's fine, but it's not amazing. You get a relatively clear sound, a touch bass heavy, but far from the worst that I've heard, although it does feel a little on the flat side. It feels like it's a flat 2D image rather than a more sort of 3D and immersive sound that you get with even Corsair's HS80 headset. It feels like it lacks just a little bit of depth, although with that said, the individual tones do come across fairly well, with only the high notes occasionally coming across as a touch harsh or sharp and a little uncomfortable to listen to, at least at times. Whether it's music or movies, the listening experience in general feels just a touch uninvolved, I guess a touch disconnected. You won't be hearing every single little detail in a track, nor getting immersed in the sounds, but you also won't be put off from listening through them. They're very much a device to produce sound and kind of it. Like I said, there isn't anything actively wrong with them, but there also isn't anything too, well, what I'd consider impressive either. Of course, for gaming, which is the kind of the key points here, it works rather well. You get a pretty good overall balance, especially the sort of left to right for hearing those all-important footsteps. Occasionally, some of the sharper sounds in games, like shots for example, can come across as, well, quite sharp and a little bit uncomfortable, but overall it's a decent playing experience. You do get a very basic 7.1 virtual surround sound option if you do want to use it, but personally I felt like that just degraded both the listening and gaming experience, so I'd leave that one off, at least if this was one that I was using myself. Comfort-wise, I can't say that they were all that great for me. Of course, comfort is a fully subjective experience, and you know, the shape and size of your head will matter significantly more than my opinion, but it's worth me, you know, mentioning my thoughts and my experiences with it here. So let me start with the overall sort of feel. Now, they feel remarkably light when you first put them on in terms of their clamping pressure, which does mean that any fast head movement will dislodge them, but weirdly, there was an insane amount of clamping pressure just at the bottom of my ears, which got pretty uncomfortable relatively quickly. Also, the outer edge of my ears rubs up against the inside of the ear cup, which can be irritating. As for the headband, that, while it is foam padded, still felt incredibly firm on my head, and I could actually feel the sort of aftershock of the pressure from leaving it on there for a fair while. And actually, I had to stop using them after about an hour or so because it was verging on a sort of, well, definitely uncomfortable and slightly painful experience, especially on the bone just in front of my ears. Not quite sure why that's the case, but that's what I was experiencing. Of course, like I said, your experience with this will vary, although likely what won't vary is the breathability, or I suppose lack thereof. The faux leather that's on these ear cups seals at least the heat relatively well, and so you get pretty warm and sweaty under there, which can aid or add to the overall discomfort if that's what you're experiencing. Now, if you do happen to find them comfortable enough to keep wearing, you can be happy knowing that you've got around 30 hours of battery life available. Or at least you have 30 hours of listening at around 50% volume, but I suppose if, like me, you prefer things a little bit louder, or you're using the mic, or even just forget to switch them off, as the auto power off mode seems to be set to never turn off by default, well then you might get more like 20 hours of use out of them. Still, that is plenty for most people, and you can use the USB-C port on the bottom to charge them even while in use, although I should mention that the USB-C cable they include is only like 50 centimeters long, so you'll have to provide your own for that one. Sadly, they don't support any level of wired usage, so it only works via their USB 2.4 GHz dongle, which means that only PC, Switch, PS4 and PS5 are directly supported. Happily though, the connection using that dongle is one of the most stable I have used, and actually one of the more impressive ones, as it let me go further around my house, in fact all around my house, more than any other wireless headset that I've used or tested here before.
One other key aspect of a gaming headset is, of course, its microphone. And you're hearing this one right now, and well, of course you can make up your own mind about how you think it sounds, but for me anyway, I would say that this sounds, I guess, okay. I suppose average is the right word, because while it is clear enough that you should be able to hear what it is I am saying, it's far from what I would actually call clear or crisp. It sounds a lot more like a tin can on a string than it does a microphone, and it gives you a sort of permanent stuffy nose sound, which is less than ideal. It's not all that sort of pleasurable to listen to. I wouldn't call this a streaming ready mic, and even just for chatting to your friends on Discord or TeamSpeak or wherever else you do, it's still just not all that nice to listen to and to hear. So it would be definitely nice to have a slightly higher quality. Even something like Corsair's HS80 or their Virtuoso offers a significantly more clear and crisp sound than this one does. At least when you do mute the mic, you get a little red LED on the boom arm to let you know that it's muted. You can have a look here. It also gives you a little beep as well to let you know that it is either muted or unmuted. While I'm here, I also want to mention their Ingenuity software, which is, again, what I would call average. It has what I would think is 4 total settings for the headphones, if you don't include the volume slider and volume mute and microphone volume slider being separate options, or 6 if you do. But all 4 of those options, at least as far as I'm aware, are just the Windows settings that they've piped into their application, or for things like microphone mute, it's something that you can control with the button on the headset. The only 2 sort of unique options, only 2 reasons for you to download this program are to enable mic monitoring, as in hearing yourself back, which is, I guess, useful maybe, but then you also have the 7.1 surround sound option, which, as I mentioned, is really very basic and, in my experience, kind of just degraded the overall experience, so I wouldn't enable that one. You do technically have profiles, or presets as they call them, up in the top right, but those presets, while they do have the option to be sort of enabled automatically when you launch certain programs or games, because of how few options you have in their software, I'm not really sure what the benefit to having those profiles is if you can't enable anything useful by switching between them. You can, however, see your battery life up, or battery percentage up at the top as well, and you can also set the power off setting to either never, which seems to be the default, or 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 30 minutes.
And when it comes to pricing, well, it's currently listed on Amazon for around £110. But that seems to be something that like a price that's literally appeared today as they've gone out of stock, as the sort of full pricing history shows that it's been listed for the full RRP of £150 for, well, basically its entire sales life. For £110, that's not a bad deal, but £150, I can't say that I would recommend it. I mean, Corsair's HS80 is listed for £140, and arguably that's a more comfortable headset, at least for me. Definitely offers a better overall listening experience and for sure a better mic. And so at £150, I can't say that one be one I would recommend. If the £110 price happens to be here to stay, that does change things slightly, although I can't say that I'm the biggest fan of this overall, and so I can't say that I would be someone who'd pick this up myself, even at that lower price. Like I said, everything about the Cloud II Wireless is average, and if that works for you, then great, enjoy it. But if you're looking for something that's maybe just a little bit better, especially at that MSRP, you wouldn't have to spend all that much, if actually any more at all, or maybe even you spend less, to get something that is better in almost every aspect. If you've already bought a pair of these and you're here to justify your decision, then you can rest easy knowing that they're certainly good enough. But if you're still on the fence, I would personally consider keeping shopping. With that said, those are my thoughts, but I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think of the HyperX Cloud II Wireless? Is it a headset you'd pick up yourself, or maybe would you go with something like Corsair's HS80 instead? Something else entirely, like a set of Beyerdynamic GT990s and an Antlion Mod Mic Wireless? Feel free to let me know in those comments down below. If you do want to check out the Cloud II Wireless, I will leave a link to it in the description down below for you to check out. That'll be an Amazon affiliate link that will take you to your local Amazon store, where you can see pricing when and where you watch this, because it can and does vary, and of course pick one up if you fancy. Otherwise, that is pretty much it for this video. If you want to see more videos like this one on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday basis, then do hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon. You can also check out the YouTube join button if you want to support the channel and get cool rewards and perks for doing so, or you can support on Patreon instead if you'd rather. There's also a load of other links in the description for things like merch hoodies or t-shirts like this one, or a load of other designs I made myself. There's also other affiliate links if you're buying from places like Overclock UK. There's a link down there for that, and there'll be plenty of other videos on the end cards as well. Maybe check out the HyperX, what's it called, Quadcast S microphone, because that's a much better overall sort of, well, recommendation for me if nothing else. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments down below. We'll see you on the next video.